the night of March 8, 2014, a routine flight lifted off from Kuala Lumpur. A flight carrying 239 people, families, workers, students, crew, all expecting to land safely in Beijing by morning. But somewhere over the dark waters of the South China Sea, Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370 simply disappeared. No distress call, no radar trace, no confirmed wreckage for years. Just silence. In an age of satellites, global surveillance, and non-stop communication, a Boeing 777, one of the safest, most advanced aircraft in the world, vanished as if the sky swallowed it whole. Governments searched, navies searched, private companies searched, and yet the truth remained buried beneath thousands of miles of open ocean. We retraced the final known moments of MH370, its last radar signals, its mysterious turn, its final satellite handshake, and the global investigation that became the most expensive and baffling aviation search in human history. This is not myth, not fiction. This is a real story built on real data and a mystery that still haunts the world. Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370 was scheduled as a red-eye flight, departing at 12:41 a.m. from Kuala Lumpur International Airport. Its destination, Beijing Capital International Airport. The aircraft was a Boeing 777-200ER, a wide-body jet trusted across the world for long-haul flights. Captain Zahari Ahmad Shah, a veteran with over 18,000 hours of flight experience, was in command. First Officer Farik Abdul Hamid, young, calm, and rising quickly in his career, sat beside him. At 12:41 a.m., the aircraft accelerated down runway 32R, lifted into the night sky, and banked northeast toward Vietnam. Everything was normal. Weather, clear. Visibility, excellent. No mechanical warnings. No tension in the cockpit. At 1:07 a.m., the MH370 sent a routine ACARS message, the aircraft's system that automatically reports engine and maintenance data. Nothing unusual, nothing alarming. As the plane approached the edge of Malaysian airspace, air traffic control prepared to hand the flight over to Vietnam. At 1:19 a.m., the cockpit responded with what seemed to be their final words. Good night, Malaysian 370, a calm standard sign-off. But within just 2 minutes, something happened. Something that forever changed aviation history. Because at 1:21 a.m., MH370 vanished from civilian radar. Not slowly, not gradually, instantly. And the world would never see it again. At 1:21 a.m., civilian radar screens inside Kuala Lumpur's Air Traffic Control Center flickered, and MH370, a massive Boeing 777, simply vanished. There was no mayday, no emergency squawk code, no warning. 1 second the plane was visible. The next it was gone. To most people, radar feels like an unbreakable safety net, a constant electronic eye watching every aircraft in the sky. But in reality, there are two types of radar. Primary radar, which detects objects by bouncing radio waves off them, and secondary radar, which relies on the aircraft's transponder, a device that broadcasts identity, altitude, and direction. MH370's secondary radar stopped responding first. Then, in the same moment, its transponder went dark. That alone was chilling. A transponder failing on its own is rare. A transponder failing at the exact moment radio communication ends, unusual. But what came next stunned investigators even more. The turn that shouldn't have happened. Minutes after civilian radar lost the plane, military radar, far more powerful and independent of the aircraft's systems, picked up something unexpected. MH370 was still flying, and not toward Beijing. Instead, the aircraft had made a sharp, deliberate left turn, crossing back over the Malaysian peninsula, then heading toward the Strait of Malacca. It wasn't drifting, it wasn't falling, it was controlled. Military radar tracked the aircraft at normal cruising altitude, sometimes climbing, sometimes descending slightly, but always maintaining stable flight. This turn wasn't part of any emergency procedure. It wasn't part of any standard diversion. It was a path no one could explain. Inside the control rooms, confusion, then panic. When Vietnam noticed MH370 hadn't checked in, they assumed Malaysia still had contact. Malaysia assumed Vietnam had it. Hours passed in this deadly assumption loop. Airlines frequently go a few minutes without checking in. Pilots might switch frequencies late, or controllers might be busy, so no one panicked immediately. But as calls to the cockpit went unanswered, and as attempts to ping the aircraft systems failed, a chilling possibility grew. MH370 wasn't experiencing a normal emergency. At 2:40 a.m., Malaysia Airlines sent the first message. The flight was missing. By dawn, search planes were airborne over the South China Sea, scanning the waters, expecting debris, fuel slicks, anything. They found nothing. Because by that time, MH370 was no longer anywhere near the South China Sea. It was hundreds of miles away, moving in a direction no one had predicted. The flight into darkness. Military radar tracked MH370 for nearly an hour after it went dark. It crossed peninsular Malaysia, passed near Penang Island, and then followed the Strait of Malacca. At 2:22 a.m., even military radar lost the aircraft. A ghost flight was now flying into the night. Untracked, unannounced, and completely silent. For hours, and no one knew. The world wakes up to a nightmare. By morning, the news broke globally. A Boeing 777 has disappeared. 239 people are missing. No wreckage found. Aviation experts were stunned. Governments were confused. Families were terrified. But the most chilling part was yet to come. Because MH370 did something no one believed was possible. It kept flying, long after everyone assumed it crashed. And the proof would come from a satellite thousands of miles away. A satellite that accidentally became the key, witness to one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of our time. For nearly 7 hours, the world believed MH370 had crashed somewhere in the South China Sea. But the truth was orbiting in space. A satellite owned by a British company. Inmarsat quietly listened to the empty sky. It wasn't designed to track planes. It wasn't meant to follow flights. It simply exchanged routine digital handshakes, with aircraft every hour to confirm the system was alive. A small ping, a whisper of data, a tiny electronic knock, and MH370 kept knocking. The first unthinkable discovery. At 8:11 a.m., long after fuel should have been nearly drained, long after every radar system had given up, MH370 sent its final handshake. This changed everything. It meant the plane had not crashed when everyone assumed. It kept flying south for hours after disappearing from radar. This single fact shattered all early theories instantly. The aircraft was not in the South China Sea. It was not near Vietnam. It was nowhere near its original route. MH370 had entered one of the most remote and dangerous stretches of ocean on Earth. The Southern Indian Ocean, a place with almost no flight paths, no islands, no shipping lanes, and almost zero radar coverage. Understanding the Inmarsat pings. The satellite didn't know where the plane was. It only knew how long each ping took to travel from MH370 to space and back.
Imagine standing in a pitch-black field at night.
Someone shouts from far away. You don't know their direction, but you can guess their distance by how loud the echo is. That's what these pings were. Each handshake showed the plane was somewhere on a vast curved line called an arc. 6 pings, 6 arcs, 6 positions over 7 hours. And from the pattern of those arcs, one unimaginable conclusion emerged. MH370 took a long, sweeping path into the deep Indian Ocean, toward nowhere. The heartbreaking reality. The analysis suggested the plane flew until it simply ran out of fuel. No distress call, no attempt to turn toward land, no effort to glide toward safety. Just a silent, empty sky, and a flight continuing into darkness until its engines died. This wasn't just an aviation mystery anymore. It was a tragedy, unfolding in slow motion, invisible to the world below. Inside the investigation rooms, when investigators first saw the Inmarsat data, they froze. Every search plane, every ship, every hour spent scanning the South China Sea had all been in the wrong place. The families, already broken by fear and uncertainty, were about to be told something far worse. The plane was lost in a place where almost nothing is ever found. A new search begins against nature itself. The Southern Indian Ocean is brutal. Towering waves, unpredictable storms, deep trenches, almost no communication coverage. And yet, the search teams had no choice. They reoriented the entire global operation, thousands of miles southwest, into one of the harshest environments on the planet. Ships loaded with sonar, aircraft scanning horizon lines, satellites searching for reflective debris. Nations that rarely work together suddenly unified with one mission: find the truth. But the truth would become harder, stranger, and more heartbreaking with every passing day. Because the ocean holds its secrets tightly, and MH370 was about to become one of the deepest secrets of all. When the search teams reached the Southern Indian Ocean, it felt less like a mission, and more like stepping into another world. An endless gray-blue desert, winds slamming across the surface at hurricane force, waves rising like moving mountains, some 20 meters high, tall enough to swallow a ship. This was not a place meant for humans, and yet here they were, looking for answers buried beneath a violent ocean older than civilization itself. The search zone, larger than countries. Based on the satellite arcs, investigators created an estimated final path, a narrow, hundreds of miles long corridor known as the Seventh Arc. This arc became the new center of the search. But even this narrow corridor was nearly the size of the United Kingdom. And the ocean floor here was nothing like the smooth maps most people imagine. It was sharp, fractured, twisted, massive underwater cliffs, ridges taller than skyscrapers, and deep trenches descending for miles. Imagine trying to find a single car in the Himalayas during a snowstorm at night. That's how impossible this search was. The first hope, then the first heartbreak. Within days, satellites detected strange objects floating on the surface, long shapes drifting in the waves. Search aircraft rushed toward the coordinates. The world held its breath. Every news outlet flashed the same breaking headline: debris sighted in the Indian Ocean. But when the ships reached the location, the truth was devastating. It wasn't MH370, just ocean trash, broken cargo, drifting wood. Nature had delivered a cruel reminder. This is my territory now. Month after month, nothing. Search vessels used sonar, underwater drones, and scanning equipment capable of mapping the seabed in high detail, and every day ended with the same report. Nothing found. Weeks turned to months. Months turned to years. Families pleaded for answers. Investigators worked themselves into exhaustion. Governments spent hundreds of millions of dollars, but the ocean gave back nothing. It was as if MH370 had been erased from Earth. The breakthrough, on a remote island. Then in July 2015, 15 days after the disappearance, a beachcomber on the remote island of Réunion near Madagascar noticed a strange piece of debris washed ashore. It was white, lightweight, covered in barnacles, a wing flap, a piece unmistakably from a Boeing 777. The world froze. MH370 had spoken, at last. What the debris revealed. Experts concluded the flap had signs of high-force water impact, meaning the plane did not glide. It hit the ocean hard, immediately. More pieces soon washed up in Tanzania, Mozambique, and South Africa, all carried by the powerful Indian Ocean currents. This confirmed one painful truth. The plane had gone down in the remote Southern Ocean, the very place investigators predicted from the satellite arcs. But the wreckage itself, the engines, the fuselage, the black boxes, all of it remained missing. Inside the final moments, what the evidence suggests. Based on drift patterns, satellite data, and the condition of the recovered parts, investigators began piecing together a likely ending. The plane flew until fuel exhaustion. The left engine flamed out first, then the right engine shortly after. MH370 likely lost power, spiraled, and hit the water at high speed. No evidence of a controlled ditching. No sign the pilots tried to glide it. No attempt to save it in the final seconds. Just a heartbreaking, lonely descent into one of the deadliest oceans on Earth. The search ends, but the questions don't. In 2018, after covering over 120,000 square kilometers, the official search was suspended. Not because they found the wreckage, but because they ran out of mapped ocean. To this day, the plane has never been located. And the world is left with a breathtaking paradox. We mapped Mars, we landed probes on asteroids, but we could not find MH370. Not because the truth is impossible, but because the ocean is bigger, darker, and more unforgiving than we ever imagined. Every major aviation disaster has theories, but MH370 had an avalanche. Some were wild, some were reckless, some were painful for the families. But over years of analysis, only 3 responsible, evidence-based theories remained standing. 3 possibilities that fit the timeline: the satellite data, the radar path, and the recovered debris. And each theory reveals a different, chilling version of the truth. Theory 1, hypoxia, a silent cabin, a ghost flight. This is the theory many aviation experts consider the cleanest fit. It suggests a sudden event, not explosive, not catastrophic, but deadly. A loss of cabin pressure, slow, silent, invisible. Hypoxia, the gradual deprivation of oxygen, can shut down the human mind within minutes. Pilots become confused. Passengers lose consciousness without realizing it. No one screams. No one panics. Everyone simply fades. In this scenario, MH370 would continue flying on autopilot after the pilots were incapacitated. This aligns with The silent cockpit, the straight, consistent flight path, the lack of distress calls, the eventual fuel exhaustion, the high-speed ocean impact, a mechanical failure, a fire, a slow leak, something subtle but fatal. The heartbreaking version of this theory is simple. The people on board never knew what happened. They were gone long before the plane disappeared. Theory 2, a controlled turn, then chaos. The second theory is more complex and more haunting. It suggests the initial turnback was intentional, triggered by a problem we still don't fully understand. Perhaps a rapid equipment malfunction, an electrical failure, a fire in the avionics bay, a cascading systems failure. In this version, the pilots desperately tried to reroute the aircraft back toward Malaysia, toward the nearest safe runway. This could explain the sharp left turn, the stable flight over Malaysia, the altitude fluctuations, the lack of communication, the silence. But then, something worse happened. Maybe the crew became incapacitated after turning back. Maybe the systems failed further. Maybe the cockpit filled with smoke at a critical moment. The aircraft then continued on autopilot, following its last programmed route, straight into the Indian Ocean. It's tragic, it's grounded, and it fits the timeline. Theory 3, a complex, deliberate diversion. This is the most controversial of the responsible theories. Not sensational, not conspiratorial, but deeply unsettling. It proposes that someone in the cockpit turned off the transponder, redirected the plane, and flew a path no civilian radar would easily detect. This theory leans on the precise turnback maneuver, the altitude changes, the path across the Strait of Malacca, the near-perfect timing of the equipment shutdown, the lack of any communication. If true, it suggests a deliberate diversion. The why remains unknown, but the how fits the data. In this scenario, the flight continues south until fuel exhaustion, and the ocean claims everything. It is a theory discussed quietly, carefully, respectfully, because real families are involved. Real lives were lost, and real pain echoes from this possibility. The hard truth: none of these theories are proven. Not a single one has all the answers. And that is what makes MH370 so deeply haunting. A plane the size of an office building. A jet filled with families, children, parents, friends. A flight monitored by dozens of nations. And yet, missing. Not because of a conspiracy. Not because of aliens. Not because of fantasy. But because even in the 21st century, with satellites orbiting above us and radars watching the sky, we are still small compared to nature. Still blind in certain corners of our world. Still unprepared for the unimaginable. And for MH370, the unimaginable became real. If MH370 had been just a tragedy, the story would have ended years ago. But what followed reshaped aviation, rewrote global policy, and exposed a terrifying truth. We were never truly watching the skies as closely as we believed. The largest search operation in human history. The hunt for MH370 became the most expensive, most complex, and most exhaustive search ever attempted. 26 nations, 120,000 square kilometers scanned, hundreds of ships and planes, billions of dollars spent, and yet not a single piece of the main wreckage was found. The search wasn't just difficult, it was unprecedented. Underwater drones capable of diving 6 kilometers, sonar systems mapping mountains no human had ever seen, specialized teams analyzing wave patterns, drift models, fuel burn rates, and last known altitude changes. Every clue became a lifeline. Every scrap of data became a battlefield. The world wasn't just searching for a plane, it was fighting the ocean itself. The ocean floor revealed its own secrets. As search vessels scanned the abyss, they discovered things older than human history. Submerged volcanoes, massive ravines, mountain ranges taller than skyscrapers, underwater landscapes no one knew existed. It was like mapping an alien planet, except this planet was Earth. One investigator famously said, "We found everything, except the one thing we were looking for. The technology gap, a shocking reality." Before MH370, the aviation world believed commercial jets were basically unlosable. Radars, communications, transponders, tracking systems. But MH370 exposed a brutal truth. A modern airliner can disappear as easily as a ship in 1912. There was no mandatory live tracking, no real-time position updates, no global requirement for satellite monitoring. If a transponder went silent, if radar coverage ended, the plane simply vanished. MH370 forced governments to face the unthinkable. Our system was built on gaps, and MH370 slipped right through one. The rules changed forever. Because of this disaster, aviation underwent a transformation. 1. Planes must now report their position every 15 minutes. Soon, every 1 minute globally. 2. New satellite-based tracking systems are mandatory. 3. Black boxes may soon float, a proposed design so they never sink again. 4. Oceanic surveillance networks expanded across the Indian and Pacific Oceans. 5. Better cockpit and system monitoring became the new standard. MH370 was no longer just a mystery. It was a turning point, a line between the old world of aviation and the new. The human cost, lives changed forever. Beyond the theories, beyond the search grids, beyond the global politics, there were the families, parents who waited a decade, children who grew up without closure, spouses who still checked their phones, entire communities frozen in time. They attended every press conference. They fought every government delay. They held up pictures of loved ones pleading, "Just tell us what happened." MH370 wasn't just a plane. It was 239 stories, abruptly cut. And every unanswered question carries the weight of those lives. The unanswered questions. Even after years of investigation, 3 chilling mysteries remain. 1. Why did the plane turn back? No message, no call, no explanation. 2. What exactly happened in the cockpit? A medical emergency? A systems failure? Something else? 3. Why has the wreckage never been found? Despite world-class technology and the largest search ever conducted, these questions keep investigators awake even now. Because each one leads to a different truth, and none are fully proven. A global wound that still hurts. MH370 became more than a disappearance. It became a symbol of human vulnerability, technological blind spots, nature's power, and the limits of our understanding. It reminded us that the world is still large, still untamed, still capable of hiding a Boeing 777 for years. The plane vanished into darkness that night, and the world has been trying to pull it back into the light ever since. After a decade of searching, analyzing, scanning, and hoping, one truth remains. MH370 is the greatest aviation mystery of the 21st century. Not because we lack intelligence, not because we lack technology, but because sometimes, even in a world of satellites and surveillance, the sky still keeps its secrets. The final picture we can draw, based on the data we do have, the radar trail, the satellite arcs, the debris that washed ashore, the story most experts agree on looks like this. MH370 took off normally. Something unexpected happened after its final communication. The aircraft turned back across Malaysia. It flew for hours along a lonely highway in the sky, unseen by civilian radar. It ran out of fuel somewhere along the 7th arc, and it plunged into one of the most hostile oceans on Earth. This is not just a chain of events. It is a sequence of human moments. 239 souls caught in an unfolding tragedy. No one recognized until it was too late. The pain that still lingers. Behind every theory, every analysis, every headline are the families. Families who still wake up wishing for a call. Families who still search the coastline. Families who still fight for answers the world could not give them. A parent once said, "The world moved on. We couldn't." And that is the emotional core of MH370, a tragedy frozen in time. The unresolved mystery. Despite a decade of advancements, this question still stands. How could a plane vanish in a world that never stops watching? Maybe the answer lies in human error. Maybe in mechanical failure. Maybe in a chain of events so rare it may never happen again. Or maybe the ocean still holds the final page of this story. A page we haven't reached yet. A page waiting somewhere in the cold darkness, beneath miles of water and silence. What MH370 taught the world? This disappearance rewrote the rules of aviation. It forced governments to rethink how they track planes. It exposed blind spots in our global systems. It pushed technology forward. It made future flights safer. But it also reminded us of something deeper. Humanity is still learning, still searching, still fragile, still humbled by the planet we think we've mastered. And somewhere out there in the vast Indian Ocean, a piece of MH370 still rests, waiting, silent, unclaimed by time. We may never know every detail of what happened that night, but the world will never forget the name. Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370, not because it vanished, but because it reminded us how precious every life is, how powerful truth can be, and how deeply unanswered questions can shape a generation. And maybe one day, with new technology, new searches, new discoveries, the ocean will finally give us the answers we've been chasing for more than a decade. Until then, this mystery lives on. Before we close, make sure you subscribe, because more untold stories are already on the way. Your support helps this channel keep digging, keep searching, keep uncovering the truth. Thank you for watching, and until the next investigation, goodbye.